Welcome back to the Why So Series podcast. We are back for our Road to Infinity War series, and we are recapping Avengers Age of Ultron from 2015, when Tony Stark and Bruce Banner try to jumpstart a dormant peacekeeping program called Ultron. Things go horribly wrong. It's up to Earth's mightiest heroes to stop the villainous Ultron from enacting his terrible plan. Big Mike's not here today, so it's just me, Mike, and Devin. Mike and then Devin, what were your overall thoughts of Age of Ultron on this revisit?
Age of Ultron is good. I don't think it's where the first Avengers was, but it was a good film, I think. I didn't really have too many. I had one big reservation about the film, and then not really anything else. And it's that I like James Spader, but I didn't really like him as Ultron. I don't know if that's gonna be a popular or unpopular opinion.
Wow, that is.
But
a statement.
It's because it's not because he's a bad actor. I just felt like I was watching James Spader be James Spader and not be Ultron. And I also feel like the other thing with Ultron is I didn't like how he was designed. I didn't like how they gave him robot teeth. It just made him he didn't look like the menacing robot that he was supposed to be. And it just it felt weird to me. But I didn't have a problem with any of the Avengers. I liked the story. And I liked everything about it, and they started, expanding a little bit more of the universe with the mention of the little references of Wakanda and Claw and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and it was a good film. That's my one big reservation about this movie that I wasn't really in love with.
The metal teeth on Ultron. Okay,
this is one of the examples. He was like a human. It looked like he was a human. I didn't like it.
I can understand it. I accept that. I saw this film bits and pieces when it first came out because I wasn't going to the movies to see it because I just wasn't stoked about it like that. And I'm actually glad I watched this movie. It was really good, well done. Throughout the whole movie, you get a whole mini look into Hawkeye's life. That's awesome. You get a whole love story between Hulk and fucking Black Widow. That was cool. You get Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in this movie. We get the Vision, which is awesome. We get the fucking the hint to the the Infinity Gauntlet or these Infinity Stones, which is awesome. So upon revisiting this movie is essential to the whole what we're leading up to, which is the Infinity Wars. So I love the movie overall. James Spader is fucking amazing as Ultron. But if you watch The Blacklist, you'll understand why he's just so awesome as Ultron. But yeah.
I love it. I enjoy this movie a lot. I'm more so with Mike. I love James Spader, and Blacklist is one of my favorite shows. But when I watch James Spader, when I watch Ultron, I see Reddington, and right. I don't see Ultron sometimes. But I like what they did with the character. I'm not opposed to what they did with the character, but it is a bit of a departure from the character that's in the comic books.
Right.
Well, no, not that he's robotic. The Ultron is kind of like this homicidal maniac in the comic books, and in the movies, he's Red Reddington, which is like this bad guy, but he has some good points, but he's kind of ruthless. And I enjoyed what they did in the scope of the story, but it was for somebody who watches The Blacklist, it's hard for me to separate Ultron from Reddington, and so I can see how some people will be against that. What did you guys think of the opening scene, the opening action sequence in the woods, and then with the twins? I thought it was shot unbelievably well and was great.
I would definitely say that because I remember trying to watch the first Avengers movie and I ended up watching this one and I was like, hold up, there's too many people in this shit, and I don't remember any of this stuff. So I was like, oh shit, this is the second movie, and I watched the whole opening fight scene, which was fucking amazing. The cinematography was great. The camera angles were great. Captain America and Thor throughout this whole movie have the best teamwork ever. They have the best combo moves together, bar none. And I love the way they captured the Hulk. In everything he does, it was just it was good.
Yeah, and I liked it as well. Also, I don't know if you guys remember, but if you were watching Shield live, like with as it was coming out, there was there's like one or two follow-up episodes to Age of Ultron that were really cool, and it was nice to see that the Avengers were finishing off Shield's work of trying to stop Hydra, because I think it was around the time of the season 2 close for Shield, and they were pretty much done with Hydra until, or I guess Age of Ultron was supposed to be the end of Hydra officially with the the Avengers and everything. But so that was cool to watch, and it was just fun watching the team work as a unit, as opposed to like what happened in Avengers 1, where they were sort of having their issues until the end of the movie, understandably. So it's nice to see that they've have been obviously working together for a while, and it was just more fun interactions between everybody. It was great.
Yeah, at one point, Captain America throws his motorcycle at somebody, which he was literally riding a motorcycle, hopped off and threw it. It was ridiculous, but it was so great and very well done. I love the scenery. I thought it was interesting how they immediately went to the Black Widow and Hulk thing in the first scene. And it's like, come on, big guy. And he gives her the lullaby. And you see this budding relationship between Banner and Natasha, which I thought they played very well off each other throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
And this opening scene was a very good start to that. What were you guys' thoughts of seeing the twins in this opening scene and seeing Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch? Because Marvel had an interesting agreement with Fox in order to use these two characters. And Fox also decided to continue to use Quicksilver, which is part of the reason why Quicksilver died in this movie. And they did Quicksilver so much better than they did in that terrible. Days of Future Past wasn't terrible, but Quicksilver scenes was terrible. And Quicksilver in Apocalypse was horrific. And this
I
was
liked
significantly
Quicksilver.
better.
That was the one thing I liked about those movies was Quicksilver.
What are you talking about? The special effects were horrible. Oh,
terrible.
Let me just stop everything and have him move around, and let me zoom in on his face while he's moving around and nothing else is moving. Those are horrible special effects for a speedster. They have better speedster effects on the Flash.
Definitely.
With a tenth of the budget. Probably not even a tenth. Probably 1% of the budget that those Fox movies had. But what did you guys think about seeing them in Age of Ultron?
I mean, I'm so interested by Scarlet Witch because I really don't know what her power is. What is it? If somebody can elaborate what her power actually is.
So in the comics, she's a mutant, which is something we'll probably explain for those of you who aren't aware of the official agreement between Marvel and Fox. But she's basically a mutant, and she has control over. I think she can control people's minds. She can fly, and her
Well, wait. In the comic books and in the movie verse, they're two different things.
Yeah.
In the comic books, she is ridiculously powerful. She can warp reality.
She can basically do anything in the comic books.
Yeah, she has hex powers, and she at one point during House of M, she basically said no more mutants, and almost all the mutants were wiped off the face of the earth. So
what?
She is House of M is a big storyline in the comic books, but she is ridiculously powerful. She can do a lot of different things, but in the movies, she has a connection with Infinity Stone, with Vision's Infinity Stone, and she gets some of her powers from the same source as the Mind Gem, which allows her to control people's minds. So it's a little bit different in the movies, but she's still really, really powerful in the movies, and she doesn't have a full grasp on how powerful she is yet in the movies. But I think we'll see that a lot in Infinity War, because she's going to have to be more powerful against the people she's going up against.
Good to know. But yeah, definitely. I love Quicksilver back in the X-Men days, just from being introduced to X-Men. Quicksilver is pretty cool.
Well, part of the reason why they could use Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch is because originally, before they were X-Men, they were Avengers. So they were mutants, but they were on the Avengers team all the way back in the '60s.
Ah,
So they both had equal rights to use those characters.
And so in the movies, they're not mutants because they can't use mutants in the MCU, but they're referred to as the Enhanced.
Well, yeah, they were people. They were doing experiments. Hydra was doing experiments on them. You saw that at the end of Winter Soldier, and the after credit scene. With Von Strucker doing stuff on them. This movie was essentially the culmination of Tony Stark's story. This was the whole first phase and most of the second phase. To me, was basically a referendum on Tony and his decisions. And he was the big star. He's what kicked off the whole MCU. And this movie, he's still a big part of the MCU, don't get me wrong, but this movie was basically this one and then leading into Civil War, but this one really wrapped up that whole first storyline of Tony being this arrogant arms dealer to Tony joining the Avengers, but still being arrogant as fuck, to Tony making bad decisions like I've been telling Mike throughout all of these, that Tony is arrogant and Tony is not somebody you want to trust, and Tony makes bad decisions. And in Age of Ultron, we saw what can happen when Tony Stark is left up to his own devices and where he thinks that he has to save the world on his own. He will make bad decisions.
Let's get this right. So none of this shit would have ever happened if they never even put in place a safeguard to stop the next alien attack. So they never made Bruce and Tony never got together and said, "Hey, we need to be prepared." None of this shit would have happened. Period. Point blank.
Why would Tony think it's a good idea to? This is the problem, and this is the problem with. I'm going to go off on a tangent, but this is the problem with artificial intelligence in real life. Anyway, if you wanted to get to the level of fully formed robots, is the fact that at the end of the day, the problem with all the issues in the world are people. We are the problem. Human beings are terrible. We are terrible species. We are horrible. We do terrible things. We cause all the problems that exist in our world. So if you create a program or you create an artificial being and their job or their sole purpose is to fix problems in the world that we live in, at the logical conclusion at the end of the day is always going to be that we are the problem, which is why they attack us. That's why they do it in all the sci-fi movies. It's not just a cliche. It is a larger aspect of life. It's a storytelling tool that reflects reality, which basically says that we are the problems. And Tony is a perfect example of that. Tony thinks he's always helping people. And I think Tony's a hero to an extent. But Tony's also extremely arrogant and he's a rich white dude who's been rich his whole life, who's never had anybody tell him he couldn't do anything. So he always thinks that he's right and he's got the best decisions. And this movie, that's one of the reasons why I love this movie so much, because they basically told you that, look, Tony fucks up sometimes, and you got to set him straight. And Mike, I think I can't believe you've seen this movie before, and you still ride for Tony.
I love Tony. He's my favorite, and I'll save my full opinions on artificial intelligence for when we do the Westworld. So I'm not even going to argue with you yet. I'll save it because I know even if I do it now, we're just going to do it again after Westworld. So I'm not going to comment yet.
So what you guys think of the scene where Scarlet Witch fucked with Tony's mind? Do you think that was a preview of Infinity War? Where everybody's dead and Cap's shield is broke?
Right. I thought that, that's what I thought, but not when I looking at it today when I looked at it, it's I figured it because now that I'm caught up on comic books, I felt like that was just a preview of saying that they lost, and Tony, his biggest fear is that he wasn't ready. So I think he was projecting that he wasn't ready, and that's why all his friends died in the movie.
Mike?
I don't know if it's going to be what Devin said, or if it's just it's something that he is seeing that he's going to try and prevent, and then as a result of trying to prevent it, make things worse. Because I think as soon as Thanos comes, Tony's going to start thinking about this vision again and start being like, all right, well, I need to do something. I also don't know if it's because after he and Cap split after Civil War, maybe maybe he'll start thinking if that never happened, we would have been better prepared for this and we could have won. I don't know. I'm curious. I've been thinking about that a lot, actually. There's a lot of theories on the internet that people are having about that one scene in Age of Ultron. So there's one, I think that was, well, actually Devin did the one. That's a big one on the internet, and then the other one. But I don't know. I'm really curious though, because I think Tony's gonna have and in the trailer, although I'm not gonna, I know Brandon tells me that I shouldn't watch the trailers too much because it's not anything in the movie. But in the trailer, Iron Man's not really with the rest of the Avengers, and in Wakanda, he's not there either. In like all
well,
the
he is in Wakanda.
Yeah, but he's not like in the scene with the Hulkbuster, and then
no,
in
the
both
Hulkbuster
is Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah,
I mean it's a Hulk.
Tony's
is
not
in there. So, and then the two things flying behind them were Falcon and War Machine. There's no spot of Tony anywhere in Wakanda.
Yeah, Tony's in space.
So I don't know what's gonna. I don't know if what he's doing in space is gonna lead to that vision happening. Maybe because he was in space and the rest of them get wrecked in Wakanda, he's gonna feel like he could have stopped him because he if he was there. I don't know.
Okay, so back to Ultron. So I really enjoyed the scene when they were trying to lift Mjolnir, the Thor's hammer, and the look on Thor's face when Cap moves the hammer and that shit moves is priceless. That is such a good, like the angle they show Thor in the background. He's so fucking arrogant. He's I'm the mighty Thor. I'm the worthy one. And Cap gets up there and he touches it and that shit moves and his face is so great. I think that scene was great. And I think it was foreshadowing because I think Cap is going to pick up something. Because Thor's not going to have the hammer anymore because it got destroyed in Ragnarok. But he's getting a new weapon. And I think that Cap is going to use it in Infinity War. Basically, also another funny scene was basically Thor and Tony having a dick measuring contest over whose girlfriend was better.
That was so awesome, That was a really good scene that everybody they showed the camaraderie of the team, and then they're actually a team now, and they forged friendships and stuff like that. So yeah, but yeah, saying Jane is better because she's gonna win a Nobel Prize.
Yeah, but that was such an alpha male conversation. Oh, well, my girl did this, my girl did this, and my girl did this, and she's looking at him like, all right, guys, whatever. I'm out.
Testosterone.
Too much testosterone.
That was hilarious. Yeah.
So did you guys buy the Mark Ruffalo? The Bruce Banner and Natasha relationship?
Definitely. You definitely buy into it more so than anything else after they're in Hawkeye's house and they have that conversation about none of them have nothing to live for, pretty much. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, whatever they do in that red room to Scarlet, what do you think they took out? Because you can still have sex, but what did they take out?
They took out her ability to have kids.
Her tubes, I guess? I don't know.
They didn't take anything out. They just did an operation so that they probably tied her tubes or something. Or made her... No, they de-sterilized her, so they said that. So they probably removed her eggs or something like that.
A lot of people were mad about that when this movie came out. Because she referred to herself as a monster. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah. I mean,
Joss Whedon had to leave his social media because people were really shitting on him after that.
Well, it's not a great line, but
it's not a great line. But I understand. Women feel like that. They feel less than, and to go through that traumatic stuff as a child. I mean, not even like a fully formed woman yet. I mean, that's hard.
The problem wasn't that she said that. The problem was that she said that in Banner Let It Ride. I think that's what people were upset about. So
but you could see the hurt. I mean, you could see him he felt for her when she said that.
I know, but the response should have been what the people are upset about is as a normal response because of patriarchy and misogyny in the world, we make women feel like they're not nothing if they don't have kids and provide and do all the women stereotypical women shit in the world. So I think if it was written in 2018 Marvel, it would have been written as she still feels that way, but the other character in the scene says having children or blah 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 doesn't make you a woman or doesn't make you less of a woman or something like that. Yeah. So that's how it would have been written today, as opposed to Banner just standing there looking like, yeah, we're both monsters. Like that's a false equivalency. The Hulk
Right.
and her not be able to have children are not equally the same in monsterism.
But the real thing about it is her being able to have children was her go back, because she could still grab some humanity. So they took that from her. That's what's actually making her the monster.
No,
that
but
she's
she feels that she's a monster, but the other character in the scene should have spoken up to say that she's not a monster. That's what people were upset about.
I got you.
When you co-sign her feeling as a monster, you're basically agreeing that is monster-like. That there's something wrong with that. And not something wrong with that as opposed to like it's sad that she can't have kids, is that she felt less than because she couldn't have kids. And people were upset at Joss Whedon for writing
if you're doing the fucking work and you're actually paying attention, it's not about having kids. It's the fact that they made her a killing machine, and the one option she had, they took away from her. That would have gave her maybe a chance at humanity.
No, they took kids away from her so she doesn't have any distractions. But the scene was about her being worthless. She's basically like, I am not redeemable. Like, because the Hulk was saying, how can you be with somebody like me? I can't even control myself. Blah 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 blah. I'm irredeemable. So then Black Widow started saying things to say to Banner, I'm just as irredeemable as you. And one of the examples that she used was the fact that she couldn't have children. So a lot of people were upset because they're basically saying that you're using the idea that she can't have children as a justification for her being irredeemable, when in fact that isn't the case. So I totally get that.
I get it.
That's what they were upset about. So you see them in that scene, and then you meet Ultron for the first time, and you realize that Tony and Banner fucked up. And at one point, they say, like, I forget who said it, but they were talking about Tony. I think it was Cap, and he says, "I know you mean well, but you didn't think it through." And I was like, that is a perfect encapsulation of the Tony Stark character. In general, he means well, but he does not think things through. Over and over and over and over again. He doesn't include anybody. Over and over and over and over and over again.
And that's the arrogance that you're speaking about, because thinking you could just do whatever and answer for it later and just say sorry for it later and not even give a justification is the arrogance you're talking about with Tony. Yeah, he's a dick.
Mike, what'd you think about Ultron's motives for what he was trying to do and why he wanted to do it?
You mean like his reasoning for trying to
destroy the Avengers and destroy the world?
I mean, it's just like every other robot's gonna take over the world story. I know you're trying to bait me into saying that it's bad. I mean, honestly, he didn't really say what his motives were.
Yes, he did.
Subtly. I mean,
no, he said it explicitly. He goes through all those visions of all the shit that was fucked up in the world. Remember when he was talking to when him and Jarvis were talking, and they were going through, and he's like, "You were designed to save the world." He's like, and then he's calculating like all these different things, and then he sees all the videos of all the war and the fights and the oppression and all the shitty things that's happened in our history, and he comes to the conclusion that, and then he sees the shit with the Avengers, and he goes, "I come to the conclusion that I've got to end the Avengers," and then after he figures that out, he goes,
How are the Avengers?
Because even Tony brings it up later when him and Cap, they give. So they also, I was going to talk about this, but they also get into a preview of Civil War, because at one point Tony's talking to Cap and he says, and they're going back and forth, and he says, "You're a righteous man pretending you could live without a war." Oh no, that's what Ultron said to Cap. I think. Well, I forget who said.
No, it's Tony. That was
Tony. He said you can pretend to live without a war, basically saying Cap can't exist without war. And so basically what Ultron was trying to say is all the members of the Avengers are feed off of conflict. Hulk, Black Widow, Tony, they all feed off of conflict. And so for them to be whole, they need conflict to exist. And conflict is going to continue to exist as long as they exist, because if they don't have exist, they're going to go looking for conflict in Ultron's mind. So in his mind, it was, I'd have to eliminate these Avengers in order to help save the world. And then the next logical conclusion was, there's just going to be other people who step in their place, other new Avengers who are going to step in this place. So I need to fuck up this world, and we need to start over. And that was his whole mentality. Is it a basic mentality? Yes, but I thought it made sense in the framework of the movie.
Right, but I don't think it's a basic mentality. I think it's the mentality that, like, if you have to start over, and there will be a single a single seed will grow again, and we'll have to start over that way. I guess it's not a simple solution, because I mean evolution's this happened, and he wants to. His whole solution is evolution. So I mean, I guess he has to wipe it out. You got to burn the earth.
And can I just say that the way he was going to burn out the earth was probably the dumbest thing I've ever seen on television. I did not like that at all. What the heck?
What, like a
that
meteor?
was going to happen.
Yeah, but the meteor part is fine. But he put giant engines at the bottom of a city somehow in the time span of like 4 days or less, probably less.
I mean, he's the
internet.
Yeah.
What do you mean he used the internet? He used the internet to put engines up?
It's automated. They're working. They're just working, yo. They didn't take no time off, yo. It's robots.
It's still highly. I mean, even with the fully automated systems, it's going to take longer than that to turn an entire city into a meteor.
He didn't turn an entire city. He turned part of a city.
Still dumb. I thought it was really dumb. I didn't like that plan. I remember sitting in the theater, still excited because it was, and I was like, "That's his plan. Like that's what he's gonna do. That's lame. That's dumb."
I was just thinking he was working day and night. They was out there getting it, and I mean he has an army of robots. So I mean, like it's possible. There's no breaks.
Anything is possible in these superhero movies. As long as it's not. I don't like things that don't fit in the framework of the movies. Like if it's too stupid for the movies, or if it doesn't make sense in the movies. But fantastical shit, I can believe all the fantastical shit I see in these movies, because everything about it is fantastical. The fact that he even exists is fantastical. So of course I can believe that his fucking robots can do that shit that fast.
Yeah, but there were just so many better things they could have done.
Like what?
I don't know. I don't think he's ever done anything like
that. He brought up an extinction event. He brought up the extinction event, and he said that there were extinction events before the dinosaurs that happened. And so that already alludes to a big-ass meteor coming to the fucking Earth. So he even explains it. He goes, if I drop this right now, millions would die. If I get it up another 200 feet or whatever, it'll be like a fucking meteor, and it'll destroy the whole Earth. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I get it. I wouldn't have done that, but I get it. I get why he thinks that. And if some people do survive, he'll start the world over with them and make them his slaves, because that's what robots want to do, Mike.
I think you've watched too many robot movies.
Okay.
It always goes like that, Mike.
It goes like that.
That's never happened. There's a robot right now walking around. Her name is Sophia, I think.
Okay. Sophia is not Ultron.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's my point.
No, Sophia is not nearly as sophisticated as Ultron.
She's pretty sophisticated.
We keep trying to want to make people sophisticated like Ultron. And Sophia probably just hasn't realized anything yet. You just wait. We need to kill Sophia right now.
She can probably hear you,
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm fucking scared of. Also, why does Tony... So here's another thing. Why does Tony have satellites in space? Who allowed Tony Stark to put satellites in space?
What do you mean? He's got a $1 billion company.
Excuse me. That is regulated by the federal government. You can't just go shooting satellites into space. Like, if you wanted to go put a satellite in space right now... I'm
sure he did.
Why would anybody... My point is, why would anybody let Tony Stark put a satellite in space?
He sold to the government for years. I'm sure they let him do whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
Just like Bruce Wayne has satellites, Reed Richards has satellites, all the big billionaire people
and
have
I wouldn't let any of them have satellites in space. That is my point.
So, well, obviously it makes perfect sense that they would let Tony have
No, it doesn't make sense. What I'm saying is the government is stupid. Why are you letting Tony have that in space? I don't like it.
That's a different argument. He should have a satellite in space.
Why? So he can... Who knows what the fuck Tony's going to do? First of all,
they were keeping the Hulkbuster was up there. That was one of the, and we needed that. He needed that. That was very important.
Mm-hmm. Tony, this is the same problem with Batman. Tony and Batman always think they got to have checks on everybody else, when in reality, they're the ones who need to be checked.
Make the Hulkbuster suit. It's not like he did that on his own.
They need to be checked. So then we also find out about Hawkeye.
They are checked.
Who checks who? By who?
Okay, there's a big... You ever seen the movie Justice League Doom?
Yes.
It's an animated movie. There's a line in there where Superman, after Batman quits the Justice League, and Superman's like, "Are you really going to tell me that you're so arrogant as you didn't have a contingency plan for yourself?" And then Batman goes, "I did have a plan." No, it was the Justice League. He was like, "I did have a plan. It's the Justice League." That's who's watching out for.
Yeah, that's not arrogant.
That isn't arrogant.
Yeah, that's not arrogant. The guy
He's basically saying, if I go out of control, I trust the Justice League to be able to take me down.
He's saying the entire Justice League is needed to put me in check. That is what Batman is saying.
Because I will systematically disable every one of you motherfuckers.
Which he wouldn't. I hate how they write. I'm not getting my Batman.
I love Batman. He can take anybody down.
I hate how they write Batman like he could actually beat fucking Superman in the fight.
That's why he's the best. That's why he's so fun to read.
He couldn't beat fucking Superman in the fight.
He
beats him every time.
No,
that is not a fight. If we have a real life fight, that is not a fight.
It's not a fight.
Neither of them are you can't say a fight in real life when neither of them are real life characters.
Superman is always holding back, but it's people like you who actually get out here in these streets and argue that Batman could actually beat Superman in a fight.
Because he could actually beat
No, he could not.
Yes, he does. He does it all the time.
No, he doesn't.
Superman is severing his
in the movies.
Superman is always holding back. Always.
Hold back in Batman v Superman.
Yes, he did hold back in Batman v Superman.
At the beginning he did, but then he got mad. You could see it.
He had Batman, and he could have ripped him into 1,000 pieces before Batman even got that fucking kryptonite spear. Out of 1,000,000 pieces, he could have.
Mike,
you know how fast Superman is? He's not fast as the Flash, but he's almost as fast as the Flash. He could beat a Batman and rip his head off in a half of a second.
It's not even a fight.
It's not even a fight.
Why does he lose all the time?
Because he holds back.
That's just an excuse that he's there.
It's because you never put that. Like, this man is overpowered. If we're talking about Bane killed Batman, like, get the fuck out of here. Yo, Superman would run through Bane like a fucking a piece of wet paper. You're finger through a wet piece of paper, yo. Get the fuck out of here, yo. 2-ply fucking toilet tissue. Superman is going through everybody.
All right, we're off on a tangent, but yeah, we'll get to Batman when we get to some DC shit. But yeah, I'm sick of standing for Batman. I love Batman. Batman's my favorite DC comic book to read. But I hate when people out here trying to tell me that Batman is the most powerful.
A regular person is beating his overpowered people.
He can't beat anybody in the Justice League. None of them.
Everybody.
No, none of them. He can't beat Flash.
Has multiple times.
They all hold up. They all feel sorry for Bruce because he has no powers.
That is not true.
You know how fast the Flash is? The Flash can literally turn back time. That's how fast he is. He can fuck up Bruce before he even thinks. There's a panel in the comic books where the Flash is talking about how fast he comprehends stuff, and it's like some minuscule time. It's like 1/1,000,000th of a thousandth of a second or something like that. It's like how fast his mind can comprehend stuff. If the Flash wanted to, there's nothing Batman could do. You know how powerful Green Lantern's power ring is? It's all about Green Lantern's will. How much will he has, how much power he can possess from that ring. He can fuck Batman up instantly.
You know what? Wonder Woman
can stand toe to toe with Superman, given the fact of how strong she is and the fact that she is a trained fighter, which Superman is not trained. So
Batman has been a god before.
Yeah, when he had god powers, that's not the normal Batman.
Yeah, but I'm saying Batman can get to that level from nothing. That's what.
No,
he
can't. He was given. Yes, oh my god, this is so stupid. I don't know why I'm arguing this ridiculous conversation with you when you know you're wrong.
I think we should have an entire episode on Batman versus everybody.
It's not because it's a stupid episode.
I think it'd be fun. It'd be fun to argue for like 2 hours.
It's stupid.
It's stupid. It really is because it doesn't make any sense.
I don't even know why I got on that. So also, did you guys like the Nick Fury review? Seeing him come back?
I love anytime I see that black man on a damn movie screen. He is everything. He was dope. The way he laid the groundwork of saving everybody at the end was great. He just has the greater good for humanity in his mind. And I love the way he was subtle with it. And he always gives, I put it in my notes like, yo, he's the Phil Jackson of this world saving shit, yo.
Mike, what'd you think about Thor's, just a rapid fire. What'd you think about Thor's arc in this film and how he left the team and had those visions and went to that pond and all that shit. And then he came back learning about the Infinity Stones.
It was necessary, but also one of the most confusing things I've ever seen because the water thing was
water
weird.
sprites, yeah. What the fuck was that about? Like,
It's in the comics, but like barely anyone probably knew what was actually going on there. I don't even know really fully understand what's going on. It's like these waters that show. I don't know how to explain it. It's like the waters that show people's destinies or whatever.
Right.
With like but you have to like. You don't just get in them, I think. That's not how it works in the comics. It was really confusing. That was one of the things I didn't like about the movie too, but it was like just a little thing that I overlooked. Like it was necessary that they start learning about the Infinity Stones, but it was really forced. It was very forced, I felt like. Like I don't know, it would have been they already came across 2 of the Infinity Stones. I feel like it'd be easier if someone was like, "Hey, these are like really powerful objects." And
who would tell them? How would anybody on Earth know about them?
That they comprehend them. They can't comprehend them. Yeah.
It would have to be Thor or some type of cosmic being.
No, yeah, I know, but I mean, Odin had a replica of a fake replica of the Infinity Gauntlet, and he probably knew about it. I mean, you tell me
Odin
that he never told
Thor.
Yeah, but you're telling me that after the events of the Avengers, after Loki got arrested on Asgard,
Thor
Odin
did know about it. But what are you talking about? Thor did know about it.
Not really.
Yes, he did. What are you talking about?
Not until after Age of Ultron did he?
No, Age of Ultron is when he had a vision that somebody is going after these stones. He knew about the stones. He knew about the Infinity Stones. He was aware of the Infinity Stones. Yeah. The vision was him figuring out that somebody is coming after these stones. That there may be some bigger person that's orchestrating these things to happen to get these stones in play.
He literally said that, Mike.
That's
well,
what
in any
he said.
case, I still think it was forced to sort of have him just jump into this pool and then strike it with some lightning, and then he freaks out, and then this.
How was it forced? Happens. Scarlet Witch gave him the vision initially, and he couldn't get it out of his head. And he says, "I have to go act on this, but I know this place." And he went to the place.
That scene didn't make any sense.
Yes, it did.
I thought Heimdall was actually speaking to him, like just trying to give him a clue to search for more. But I wasn't fully understanding what was going on either.
Yeah, Brandon.
What are y'all confused about?
You defend every part of these Marvel movies. Like they're not. There are parts. This part didn't make any sense.
How did it not make any sense? He had a vision. In the vision, he saw the pool, he saw Heimdall, and he saw these Infinity Stones. He says something's fucked up about this, and so then he says, "I need to go figure out this place." He says, and he goes and finds a scientist, and he says, "We need to go to the place that we know about." He knows about this place. It doesn't matter if the audience knows about this place in the past because we don't know everything about Thor mythology. So then Thor goes to the pool that allows him to get a vision. And he even says before he goes in, "This is dangerous. Everybody that goes in here doesn't come out. But I feel like I have to do this or I won't be able to move forward." That's what he says in the movie. Then he gets in the water and he sees the vision of the stones. Does the vision make perfect sense? No, because it's not supposed to make sense. It's supposed to be bits and pieces put together so Thor can get an idea of what's going on, but not exactly know what's going on. That's why it was shot in that way. I don't know why anything about that's confusing. All that makes sense to me. I didn't say it was great. I just said it makes sense.
Right. It just was confusing to see what was going to take place.
It was a necessary evil. How else would the Avengers know about Infinity Stones?
Without Thor, yeah.
Without Thor and without Scarlet Witch giving him a vision for a reason to look into.
And him finding that out didn't help them at all because he didn't get any of them in Thor 3, and they're still going to be caught totally off guard when Thanos arrives.
But it made them aware of the existence of them.
But how does that help them? Just knowing that they're out there.
Easy. That you know they exist. They didn't know that they exist.
Look,
they didn't know that the Tesseract was an Infinity Stone. They didn't know any of that. They just thought it was this power source. Like they didn't know that. Thor explains to them that there's 6 of them and they're out in the universe and they're these artifacts. Not artifacts, but they're these things that have almost omnipotent power. And he basically explains to them what they are. That's all they really need. That's all they really need to know. That's all really Thor knows about them. He knows that they exist.
Thor doesn't. He doesn't have that vision. He doesn't wake up Vision. He doesn't give Vision enough power to even come to life.
Right.
So
yes, and without that, there is no Vision. So it was definitely necessary. I don't think it was. It may not have been the best scene that they could have done. I would agree, but that doesn't mean that it didn't make any sense. It did make. It it made sense in the story they were trying to tell, if that makes sense. Also, I thought it was great because Ultron did such a great line that applies to this movie and to Black Panther, which is in this movie he's talking about humans, but in Black Panther they're basically talking about Americans or white people, where where Ultron says the most versatile substance on the planet, and these idiots decide to make a frisbee. And I was like, that is such a great line. You know how much, like in Black Panther, we saw how much you can do with vibranium, like how much stuff you can do with vibranium, and Ultron figures it out immediately, and he goes, "These Americans had vibranium, and they thought we're gonna make a frisbee, we're gonna make a shield out of it." That is so fucking funny. I thought that was one of the best lines in the movie.
Ultron, definitely made Craig when he cut it. I mean, what's his name? What's the fucking Andy Serkis guy? What's his
Claw.
Claw. He definitely made Claw cut his head off.
Cut Claw's arm off. That's how we end up seeing Claw with his vibranium arm in Black Panther. That's correct. At the
Made
end,
him a billionaire. That shit was dope.
Vision was talking about Tony. And,
Brandon, how did you feel about Vision? How did you feel like how they executed
Vision? First of all, I thought Vision looked amazing. I like how they did it in the movies because obviously they weren't going to do Hank Pym. He hasn't been introduced yet at this point. And it makes more sense for it to be Tony, as Tony is a central part of the MCU. And I thought that Vision made the perfect statement at the end. Vision was talking about Ultron, and and Ultron is basically the manifestation of parts of Tony. And like in the comic books, Ultron is Hank Pym, basically the bad parts of Hank Pym. And Vision is talking about Ultron, and Vision says Ultron doesn't know the difference between destroying the world and saving it. And I was like, that is also part of Tony Stark. Tony doesn't know the difference in some cases.
And we're both of him, so
yeah, and we're both of him. We don't know the difference between saving the world and destroying the world. And you think, and it's a thin line that is not so thin in certain people's cases, but in Tony's mind, is the thin line between destroying and saving the world. It can do either or. They also teased the Vision and Scarlet Witch relationship. In this one, they do a little bit more of it in Civil War. But I don't know how they're going to address that, or if they address that in the MCU. I wouldn't be mad either way, honestly, because it's a little weird in the comic books. Like, they end up having kids, and it's just really weird. But they teased it a little bit in this film. What did you guys think about the final fight? I know Mike didn't care for The Rock, but what did you think about the final fight scene?
It was cool. You gotta love the whole action moment, the whole come together team moment when they're protecting the drill, and they're just knocking those guys off one by one. That was cool. You gotta love the cinematography of that. But I mean, it was what it was. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I agree. It was fine. I mean, it was cool. It was not bad. It wasn't the greatest fight scene I've seen in the MCU.
Cap was definitely stealing all the action, the best kills, Joe. He's the best. That fucking shield, the geometry with that shit, him and Thor, he's the fucking Cap is the best, Joe.
Mike, did you? What was I gonna say? I totally lost my train of thought. I know what I was gonna say. So, did you notice how we've been watching all these films, and at no point have we got Avengers Assemble? Like, have you noticed that?
I figured that's coming in Infinity War. That's what.
The movie cut out right when he was about to say it.
Yeah, no, he's never said it in any of the movies. He doesn't say it in Civil War. He hasn't said it. So
yeah, I feel like that's something they've been saving for Infinity War because it's like the big assemble. Most characters will be here.
And Mike, when you first saw this in the movies, because Devin didn't see it, and the after credit scene when you finally see Thanos and he says, "Fine, I'll do it myself." What do you think about that after credit scene?
Oh, that was cool. I mean, that gets it. I remember being so pumped, and I remember being like, I know Ant-Man's was coming out after, but I was like, just give me Civil War and then give me Infinity War, because that was. I also was a little annoyed though because Joss Whedon said that he wasn't doing 2 post-credit scenes like a lot of the Marvel movies did. So I was like really wanted to see more, but
right, because that was the quickest shit ever, yo.
Yeah, it was just what I needed though. I feel like just what you need. You know, it was intense. It was intimidating. It was powerful.
Cool.
I liked it.
So last thing we'll do before we get out, we'll start with Devin and then Mike. What was your favorite scene? What was your least favorite scene? And what's your score out of 10?
My favorite scene was definitely when Hulk was rampaging the first time. Just the way they made it look so like if Hulk could be real, I got it. The texture the camera provided to his skin and his emotions and everything, thought was fantastic. And like he's unstoppable. Even the bullets were like, you saw the bullets like pissing him off more and more. And I love the fact that, yo, you really can't fuck with Hulk if you make him mad. Like, and fucking hitting him and fucking trying to hurt him is only gonna make him mad. So like, Tony, what are you fucking doing? That shit was everything. I just love that whole action scene. I'm definitely gonna give it a 9 because it was really good. It was necessary. Action wasn't too over the top. It was like for like separate solo films, the action's better in those films than it was. And Avengers, the action was better. Winter Soldier, the action was better. So this action wasn't as good, but the story and giving us so many different dimensions, giving us the Hawkeye storyline, giving us the twins, giving us giving us Widow and Hulk, giving us Thor's little storyline as far as making everything crystal clear for the group was great. Even Cap and Tony's back and forth. We had so many layers of the overarching story that we're going to tell in Infinity Wars and more movies that come, that this movie was that good to me. That's why it deserves a 9.
My favorite scene was probably when Nick Fury comes out with the helicarrier and it's like, yep, I'm here. I'm going to help. This is, we're going to do this. Least favorite scene, definitely The Rock. I just thought it was dumb. It was just, yeah, you know how I feel about it. I'm going to give the movie a 7, I think. Just, I didn't hate the movie. Like, I don't want you guys to think I didn't like it, because it was fun to watch. But it's definitely not one of the Marvel movies that I watch over and over again. It's not, like, it's just nice to have seen it. It's cool. I just wish I could have gotten a little bit better of an Ultron portrayal, kind of like what Brandon said. I wanted more of, like, the sadistic, homicidal maniac Ultron. This one felt very philosophical, and it was just weird. But I didn't dislike the movie. It just wasn't my favorite, so I'm going to give it a 7.
I enjoyed most of the film. I really loved the story arc that he told with Tony. I enjoyed the relationship between Hulk and Banner and Natasha. And I also enjoyed some of the Easter eggs that they put in this film to see more movies, and especially Infinity War, which is coming up soon in real life.
It's Easter today. That's crazy. He said Easter eggs, and it's Easter.
So I did give this film an 8. There were things that weren't as good as some of the other films. And I don't think it was as good as the first Avengers or Civil War. But I thought it was a very good film, so I give it an 8. But that's going to do it for us. Our next Road to Infinity War is Ant-Man, which I still can't believe Marvel actually made, but they did. So we will be back next week for Ant-Man. Please subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere you get your podcast app. Leave us a 5-star review. We'll talk to you guys later.